Aini Binti Wan Muhammad Zulkifli, my metric number 1211549. First of all, I will talk about the writer's short biography. Muhammad Mohar Ali was born in 1929 in Khulna in Bengal, a British Bangladeshi Islamic scholar, historian, and barrister. He is the only Bengali to have received the King Faisal International Prize. Studying at Dhaka University, he obtained a degree in history in 1952 and a master's degree in 1953. Between 1954 and 1976, he worked as a university lecturer in Bengal, becoming professor. Moved in 1976 to Saudi Arabia to teach Islamic history at Imam Muhammad ibn Saud Islamic University in Riyadh for 12 years, followed by 7 years of teaching at the Islamic University Madinah. Muhar Ali died in London on 11 April 2007. Ali was specialist in Islamic history, the history of Bengal. His book, History of the Muslims of the Bengal, is considered an important reference in the history of the propagation of Islam in the region and its cultural and political effects. It also deals with the struggle of Bengali Muslims against British colonial rule and the Islamic influence of on Bengali literature and literature. Ali won the King Faisal International Prize for Islamic Studies in 2000. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next, for the Theodore Nolde's assumption, his objective to show that the Quran is, as he sees it, a patchwork of incoherent themes and episodes. He traced that many of the long surah are the result of an amalgamation of various originally distinct revelations. Secondly, the supposed difference in literary style brought changes in the subject matter and interruption in the connection of talk. Secondly, he divides the surah into 4 periods: the early Makan, the mid Makan, the late Makan, and the Madinan, fixing the chronological order of each group according to the length, theme, literary style, and what he conceived to be the controversial excitement of the early group. The publication of his Geschichte Nolde modified some of his extreme and obviously untenable views. To move to inflation of Nolde assumption. Firstly, Arthur Jeffrey material. His objective to show that the Usmanic text is only one of the many reverse and widely divergent texts. He said the fate of memorization of the Quranic text. This were those preserved both in writing as well as through memorization by the companions, many of whom had, before his death, learned the whole Quran by heart, while many others had memorized a good deal of it. Secondly, Jeffrey mentions that it was the slaughter of a great number of Kumkum at the Battle of Yamama in 12 Hijrah that caused interest to be aroused in getting all the revelation material set down in permanent written form. Next, for the Bellwether theories. Firstly, he says that there are various versions of the report containing many discrepancies. On the other hand, there is a tradition which says Umar was the first to collect the Quran and completely exclude Abu Bakr. Secondly, the reason given for the step, namely the death of many readers in the Battle of Yamama. Thirdly, much of the Quran was already written in some form or other, so that the death of some of those who could recite it from memory need not have given rise to the fear that part of the Quran will be lost.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Nuhusna Afika binti Muhammad Fazli, metric number 1211514. Okay, today I will present about summary on the text of the Quran. Firstly, the language and style and the theory of revision. Okay, the point explained about Dr. William Nasales, one of the modern Orientalists who expressed a clear opinion on the literary merits of the Quran, asserted that no authorized Muslim had ever written an Arabic work of any description which did not contain innumerable allusions and frequent quotation from it to be understood and appreciate the deep knowledge of the Quran. These views of Lees and the Muslim opposition were of no avail against the government policy of secularizing the madrasa and the whole structure of the education system. The second point is Nolte's views on the language and style of the Quran. Okay, so Nolte wants his readers to take from him in the same breath that rhyme prose was the order of the day, but no, a prose style did not exist. The Prophet adopted to existing rhyme prose style. But no, he was the first prose word. The Prophet regularly maintained the rhyme in the Quran, but no, there is a gross negligence of the rhyme in the Quran. So, failure to understand the basic and the predominant theme of the Quran, the message of Tawheed, make Note also think that there are interruptions in links in the prophetic stories, sudden change of the subject or the practice from the context in other places.
On the naturalized foreign word in the Quran in general ever. Orientalists have studied naturalized foreign word in the Quran since the mid-19th century, influenced by Muslim classical scholars. Jalaluddin Asyuti emphasized Arabic, Ethiopic, Syriac, and Aramaic as cognate language with common roots. Words of non-Arabic origin were naturalized during Arab contact with the outside world, undergoing modification and changes. The Orientalist fiction of foreign vocabulary. Orientalists misinterpret naturalized Arabic word in the Quran to attack the Prophet Muhammad and the Quran. They use personal attack, non-pure Arabic writing, borrowed word from Jews and Christians, and misinterpretation of relevant texts to undermine the Prophet's ability to express idea in his native tongue. Okay, now we go to the author's argument or criticism or idea. Okay, first about the interpretation and bias, which means the possibility for interpretation bias is frequently criticized level at both the Quran and academic publication on the Quran. Scholars may approach the text with preconceived beliefs, cultural backgrounds, or ideological positions that impact their readings. Critics may suggest that Muhammad Ali's interpretation reflects a certain theological or ideological bent, limiting the scope of his research or ignoring opposing views. Okay, next about the historical context, which means critics may say that Muhammad Ali's scholarship on the Quran fails to take into consideration the historical context in which it was revealed. The Quran was revealed during a 23-year period, and comprehending the precise condition and events that affected it versus its critical for accurate interpretation. Critics may argue that a focus on theological or legal analysis without enough consideration for historical context leads to insufficient or misleading findings. And the last one is lack of engagement with modern studies, which means some may say that Muhammad Ali's book do not adequately engage with modern Quran studies. The area of Quran studies is ever-changing, with new research and interpretation appearing all the time. Some opponents argue that his writings may not include the most recent methodology, hypotheses, or discoveries from other experts, limiting the scope and applicability of his analysis. And that's all from our group. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.